This is from a personal account in the New York Times.
Okay.
April
Give me a year.
20.
I don't, all right, 20. We're already.
17.
Okay, all right, yeah. So April doesn't matter. Like,
No, not at all.
really?
No. Recent years.
Okay.
In recent times, a personal account. Halfway through February, I could no longer sleep through the night. At 2 a.m., I find myself chugging milk from the carton to extinguish a fire at the top of my ribcage.
Okay, just okay. I find myself.
My God, we get hecklers. We get hecklers in podcast. I find myself chugging milk from the carton to extinguish a fire at the top of my ribcage. The gnawing feeling high in my stomach alternated with nausea so arresting.
Gnawing feeling?
Gnawing feeling. Gnawing.
Yeah, I know.
A nausea so arresting, I kept a bucket next to my laptop and considered taking a pregnancy test, even though I was 99% sure I wasn't expecting.
Okay.
That's awesome, isn't it? One day on the subway platform, I doubled over and let out a groan so pathetic it prompted a complete stranger to ask, "Are you all right?"
And this is New York. I think that's a high bar in New York.
Well, she goes on. Then I knew it was time to seek medical attention. New Yorkers don't address strangers on the subway.
Of all the stories I heard about New York, it's not care for others.
No. I've seen Seinfeld.
Hey, buddy, you all right?
Yeah. Seinfeld went to jail at the end for not caring. That's just what they do. The next day, my primary care doctor told me I probably had an ulcer, a raw spot or sore in the lining of my stomach or small intestine. Among many critical things, I needed to figure out how to get nourishment. But having an ulcer, I'd learned, is like being a contestant on a twisted game show called What to Eat.
It doesn't sound like a good game show.
Not a
Like
great
there is no game show where it's have an ulcer. Like
Also, your prize is it doesn't hurt as much.
I know that there's the wacky Japanese game shows. You know, you got a mattress strapped to your back, but it's also not great TV. This man has an ulcer.
Look at the suffering. Here, eat this battery acid. Does it hurt more? Yeah. So she was playing the twisted game show called What to Eat. Choose poorly and my stomach would burn like lava, leaving me listless.
Yeah, choose well, you get a car.
Choose wisely, and I'd be rewarded with a momentary reprieve. Oh, yeah, and a 1964 Hyundai.
Yeah.
I'd be a momentary reprieve until hunger struck again. Every few hours, the air quotes game would start over.
Oh God, though, that's horrible. It really is. It
Horrible.
does. It's gross.
Horrible. Yeah, nothing about it sounds good. Maddeningly, I wasn't sure which foods might be safe to eat until I'd tried them.
What about the ones that she was successful with last time?
I don't know. We didn't ask.
I mean,
That's a good question.
You don't have to eat a rainbow of food here.
Yeah.
If you have this kind of condition, don't think I also have to eat the diversity of foods.
They just reset every time.
Like lock down on Wheat Bix and just go, okay, Wheat Bix will work, and then just stay with that.
Salt and vinegar chips crucify me last week. Maybe this week it'll be just fine.
Just don't.
Why wouldn't it be the same? I mean, why would it be the same? Every few hours, the game would start over. She wasn't sure which foods. For instance, why did a seemingly innocuous bag of salted peanuts lead to agony?
Well,
I don't know, because it's got pea in them. The truth is, gastroenterologists don't know why certain foods cause indigestion and heartburn for patients with stomach ulcers.
okay.
There are a few rules of the road, as she puts it. Avoid alcohol or anything with caffeine or anything high in fat. Because apparently fatty foods sit in the stomach for a long time.
Not
and
chili?
fester.
I thought they were going to say avoid like curries and stuff like that.
That is the popular.
Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
Okay.
They just don't know.
All right.
A former president of the American College of Gastroenterology perhaps summed it up most succinctly. There's a general rule. Don't eat what hurts you. Like, okay, champ.
21st century medicine there.
Yeah, does it hurt? Yeah, don't.
Don't-
What is it, doctor? I get a pain in my arm every time I do this.
Well,
don't do it.
I don't doubt that there are doctors that have to say to their patients, okay, the patient says, every time I eat this, it kind of hurts. And it's like, okay, this is not really.
have more of that.
I don't need a degree in this to tell you stop doing that.
Double down on that. Eat more. The thing is to make yourself bulletproof to it.
Yeah.
Inoculate by eating more. You're scared if you eat something with about what the consequences will be, she said. So she quit eating for a few days. The downside of hunger was nausea. And an empty stomach can be doubly painful if you have an ulcer.
Oh.
So she put it, ulcer patients must serve as their own guinea pigs. So experimenting on their guts until they find sustenance that doesn't come with a side order of discomfort. And she said she didn't realise this till weeks after her diagnosis. So it's very interesting, the guinea pig metaphor, because it takes on special significance in the world of ulcers.
Welcome to the Wholesome Show.
Yes.
The Science Stories podcast for people who sit up the back of the thing that you're in. Classroom.
Whatever it is.
Bus.
We don't judge.
Other things that have seats in the back. So back of the cinema. Oh, don't sit up the back of the cinema. That's no good.
That's tough though.
Back of the lecture theatre.
Yeah, back of the sea shipping container.
Yeah, cool.
Back of the auditorium.
Back of the plane. That's not cool though.
Not at the moment because you get the COVIDs.
The Wholesome Show is me, Will Grant, and him.
Dr. Roderick Griffin Guinea Pig Lamberts. Because I'm adorable.
You
Look at
are.
my little teeth and my beady eyes.
And it is brought to you by the Australian National Centre for the Public Awareness of Science.
Yeah, and ulcers.
For all of your science communication needs.
And ulcer treatment.
Yeah.
Especially in these troubling times.
Don't go to them for ulcer treatments. I mean, maybe.
No,
We'll see what the story says, but I just think I think there's probably other people in your treatment pathway before you get to an academic science communication centre.
It's true.
Like,
but you're all doctors, right?
If you get there, if you come to us and say, "Hey, I got an ulcer," we will point you in the direction of better care. But that doesn't mean that we're pointing you to specialists. We're just pointing you to like the general healthcare system.
He means he, and by better care he means you point you to me.
Really?
I'm very caring. I care about people's stomach linings. It's more of an obsession, really, more like a calling.
You know you're not trained.
You don't know that.
Don't got no license, man.
You haven't seen.
Don't got no license.
I got a drawer full of licenses.
Tell me about these goddamn ulcers.
I can tell you nothing. Barry. Short for barreled, obviously.
The most Australian name ever. I'm going to guess he's Australian because he's got to be Australian.
Oh, he's Australian.
Yeah, there you go.
No, you've definitely heard of him. Barry, or barreled, of course.
Is it barreled?
No, but it should be.
There must be a barreled.
It's true. Barry? Harry short for Harold? Why wouldn't it be?
Exactly.
Barry J.
Larry's short for Larrold.
Yes.
Gary's short for Garrold.
It is. Rod short for Roddled. Will short for Willald. It all works. It's the same with ladies' names. Barry Marshall, who I of course call Baz because he is Australian. So he was born in Kalgoorlie in 1951.
Again, a very Australian place to be born.
Very Australian.
It's born in the gold mine, Western Australia.
Yeah, that's right. It's apparently a prosperous mining town.
Yeah. You can tell by the number of brothels that it has.
That I didn't get into.
Kalgoorlie's famous for
its brothels?
Yes.
I'm just going to make a note. You want to hit pause for a moment? I just want to note that.
Sure. I mean, but maybe it doesn't anymore. I don't know. But it used to in the olden days.
It may still be. I don't know. But anyway, it's about 370 miles east of Perth, which is about 45,000 kilometres, give or take.
Why did you do miles first? We don't have miles in Australia.
But the biography from which I drew a lot of these words did.
Okay. All right.
And who am I to misrepresent
or convert to our units?
I'm not that kind of scientist.
It's west of Perth.
I'm not a conversion
It's
scientist.
in the desert. There's gold there.
His father was 19, and in the final year of his apprenticeship as a fitter and turner when Baz hit the earth.
Cool.
Mother was 18. She quit her nursing training to have him.
That
Probably
is,
on the same day, like, oh, fuck, I'm in labour.
I mean, I'm here at the hospital anyway, so that was good.
Yeah, too bad I'm not a paediatric and or midwife nurse.
People got amongst it early. I mean, they still do.
In the 50s.
They still do. They still do. But
I imagine being 19 with your 18-year-old wife and you're having your first kid. I can't imagine it now. I still feel too immature. The reason is...
Maybe you are.
Obvious.
Okay.
They moved around a lot in his early childhood. So his father finished his apprenticeship and his parents decided they'd go and work in the new uranium mine in Rum Jungle.
Oh, sweet.
In the Northern Territory.
Sweet.
What a great name.
Who decides that? I know Rum Jungle's a great name, but also who says uranium mine, that's where I want to go? I mean, I guess.
These were innocent times.
Yeah, it's work. It's work.
Mid-50s.
Yeah, cool. Growing up in a uranium mine, though.
So they got in their Model A Ford.
There's only two countries really where you could grow up in a uranium mine, and obviously this is the nice Venn diagram that has Australia and the Soviet Union. And I'm sure there's other things in the middle of that Venn diagram.
Both countries drink a lot.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
And both countries feature your only accents.
One by default.
That's true. It's not your fault. So his father finished. They went up to they got in their Model A Ford, honked up Australia's west coast. They got about 1,000 miles, 4 million kilometres, and they stopped at Carnarvon because the car broke down.
And there's a nice gorge there.
Well, there's also a
come to the Wholesome Show for your Western Australian tourism tips.
According to Will, I didn't even know you'd heard of Western Australia.
I know it exists.
You seem to know a lot more than that. So it broke down there. So they stopped. There was a whaling station which had great wages for tradies, and his father was apparently excellent. So they lived at the whaling station when he was between, from 2 to 4 years old.
What century are we?
1950s.
1950s. So
1950s.
Tail end of whaling.
Yep, the tail of the whale. Apparently they lived on a house on Babbage Island, very close to the beach. They had an outhouse toilet, dirt floors in part of the house, telephone, refrigerator, car, cat and a dog. I know. There was a derelict steam engine on the railway siding, so he and the neighbours' kids would play on it.
Well, who wouldn't though?
I would.
I played on steam engines as a kid, derelict steam engines as a kid.
Yeah, you did, because you grew up in Western Australia, I'm starting
No,
to
I
think.
didn't. F and Q. And there were some derelict steam engines and we used to play on them.
As if you wouldn't, though. I'd play on one now.
Would you try and get it started up?
Yeah, kids, I know it involves fire and water, so I'm going to just mix those and I'm just going to keep stoking the fire and pouring water on it. So at this stage, his grandparents had a license for the Tower Hotel in Kalgoorlie. So they'd periodically go and live there. And he says, in Kalgoorlie, I remember doing all kinds of things as a 6 or 7-year-old that kids basically do, like making bows and arrows and slingshots and lighting crackers after school, as we all did as 6 or 7-year-olds.
Oh, no, I did a lot of making bows and arrows, actually.
I had one. I had the setup.
I had the setup, but we also used to make them because we had a bamboo little forest.
Of course you did.
And so we would cut the bamboo and make a bow and arrow every day. Like when you need a new bow and arrow, you make nunchucks and bows and arrows.
Yeah.
And I remember Mum wasn't super pleased when we discovered that rather than firing the arrows off into the distance and you've got to go and get them, a way more efficient way to have fun, the way more efficient way to have fun is you fire them straight up.
Yeah, and then wait till the last minute to get out of the way. Yeah, we did that too.
Just whoa, kids! That's not good decision
Wish
making.
you wouldn't. I did the other one where at the back of our yard, which was suburban wooden fence palings that had gaps, had an old beach umbrella. I'd put a paper target on it and shoot at that, and every now and then an arrow would go through the gaps of the fence. No children were hurt in the making of that game, but
I remember we also used to play. Sorry, listener, for our digression into growing up in the 1940s or whatever it was that he grew up, but.
Yeah. So all the normal things. In 1958, he was 7, and his mother said, "Look, we're going to Perth," because she could see in Kalgoorlie lots of kids, lots of young boys would leave
Barry
school
ain't got
16.
no future.
Exactly. Well, no, he has a future, but it's a very particular one.
Okay, yeah.
So they leave school at 16. They go down the mines. There's lots of money in it. There's wild social life, drinking, partying, etc. And she was hoping he and his 3 siblings would do better. Yeah, let's go to the city. And as far as he's concerned, they were lucky they made that decision. So they went to the city. And he says he sporadically hit the top of the class, but mostly at school didn't work hard enough to stay there. So he's smart enough, but he didn't.
He'd do a bit of work, get to the top, and then slide back down.
Yeah, look, I've done it. Yeah, squad goals achieved. He said at home he had plenty of interesting reading material. His dad always explained how...
Is that a euphemism?
No, it's actual.
Okay, all right. It just sounds like a euphemism. Interesting reading material.
That's not a euphemism, that's actual. Oh, you mean...
I was assuming he meant pornography.
Picture books.
I don't know why I thought that, but...
Mid-1950s, I don't think even Playboy existed then, did it?
No.
Gee, that was a very quick answer.
I
Absolutely not.
I have an immaculate knowledge for all dates. All dates that ever happened. You ask me a date.
What's a date?
1st January 1850.
Fuck, it really is.
It is. Ask me another one. I got another date.
What date was Monday?
Yeah.
1st January 1850.
There was one then, yes. Yes.
So they had plenty of interesting material. So his dad was always explaining how the car engine worked when he repaired it. There was lots of technical books. So by the age of 8, he was making electromagnets. He was reading his mother's medical and nursing books. And as he was the eldest of 4 kids, he was expected to be the responsible one. So he'd find himself, as he put it, controlling 2 younger brothers who shared his exuberant and inquisitive nature.
Okay, cool. When you're making your electromagnets, this is how you got to be careful with them. Yeah. Don't swallow 2 electromagnets at once.
Exactly, because you don't want them to touch. It's like crossing the streams.
Yeah, just swallow one electromagnet, you're fine.
But if the person next to you swallows one,
yeah, that's true.
You better like each other. He said, however, he still feels a bit guilty for things like when he told his younger brother to jump out of a tree and he broke his arm. So he did, what young boys do.
But that's what guilt is for.
Yeah. It gets better, though. So he says his first exposure to fame came at age 12. He was left in charge of all his siblings while his mum went to the shops.
Fame.
Oh, fame.
Okay, wow.
Fame. It sounds like a big claim, but no. Claim to fame.
Okay. He's 12.
Yeah. He had a history of responsible babysitting, so
sure,
all fine by then.
Sure, okay.
At some point in that morning, he says, my 18-month-old sister found a milk bottle half full of kerosene and drank some.
Oh.
I know, right?
Hang on, so he's 12 and she's 18 months.
Yeah. 12, 18 monmonths.
Yeah. Yeah, look, 12-year-olds can look after, I don't know. Look, I'm not to judge. I'm not judging the parenting here. All I'm just saying, 12-year-olds would be great at looking after 12-year-olds, 11-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 7, 6, 5. But when you get down to 18 months, they got different sorts of needs.
They're not children yet.
Yeah, they're not. They can hang out in like a little pack. Like you imagine a little pack of street urchins, they can do that. But you don't have an 18-month-old in a street urchin pack. Drank some kerosene.
Yeah, drank a little bit. Apparently, as he put it, she was aspirating a little bit, so my brothers and I found her choking but did not know why. So he called an ambulance. While he was waiting, because he'd learned some basic CPR, he tried to perform mouth-to-mouth resuscitation on her, and he knows now it was pointless because she was still breathing.
I was just going to say.
Stop blowing in my mouth!
I'm hurting here. Yeah. I'm not breathing.
Yeah. Like, what I don't need is my lungs getting any bigger.
Let's start her heart again. Yeah. Start it up. Come on. Her heart's not working.
Stop pounding on her chest. Then he realised once he put his mouth on hers, he could smell kerosene.
Oh, okay. Cool. So he's being a detective. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I was lucky he did it.
A few days later, he was in the newspaper with his fully recovered little sister on his lap. It was a great story about how it's good to call the emergency number and get the ambulance and why you shouldn't put poison in drink containers. As he put it very kindly, my mother did not leak to the press the fact that it was I who left the kerosene within her reach in the first place.
Ah, there you go.
But the shenanigans continued, not with his little sister anymore. She learnt a lesson. She went to the shops with Mum from that point forward.
Fair enough, yeah. I think Mum's doing that, yep.
So in our dad's shed, he says, my brothers and I had access to all the tools we needed to build or dismantle anything.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
Yeah, I frequently got into trouble doing both. So their favourite book as a child was the old Nunes Children's Encyclopedia, which his grandfather had bought just after World War II and handed it over to the kids because he seemed into it. And there was a special chapter called Things Boys Can Do.
Not girls?
Nope.
So
only for boys. Girls would read it and it wouldn't make any sense.
It's easily doing a wee standing up. That's the only thing that's in there.
Girls can do that?
No, I'm saying easily.
Easily.
It can be a bit tricky.
It's just messy.
It's just, there you go.
Do it.
All right, yeah. So
don't you judge them.
Neatly. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you.
Neatly. What else have we got that boys can do that girls cannot do?
I recall building a slingshot.
No, they can do that.
A crystal set.
Crystals?
Crystal radio. A Morse code set. Various guns. A hydrogen generator for balloons. Electrical devices and minor explosives. And I'm thinking, what a childhood. Bloody awesome.
Oh, I know, right?
Like, bloody awesome.
I know, right? Minor explosives are a good part.
Oh, there's nothing better. And so he goes on to say, in those days, fireworks had been banned. So his really young childhood was ruined now. But the chemicals that were easily available from pharmacies and chemical supplies. So in the tradition of Alfred Nobel, we would create various explosive mixtures and make firecrackers and bombs.
Yeah, okay.
So it started pretty benignly with simple gunpowder. I love that's benign.
Where do you get some gunpowder?
You make it. Saltpeter.
Yeah, what's saltpeter?
Blood.
What's saltpeter, Einstein?
They put it in some cigarettes because it's a burning agent.
Sounds expensive for a kid to get a whole bunch of cigarettes and pull out the gunpowder from them.
No, I think they could, at that point, just get saltpeter.
What even is it?
It's a chemical substance. It goes in explosives. This isn't that kind. Oh, it is a science podcast.
Not a real science podcast.
No, fake science. So he said it started fairly benignly with simple gunpowder and graduated to more dangerous oxidizing agents. Many times we're in trouble after disturbing the neighbours, but we were fortunate never to cause serious injury. I often found myself in trouble with my parents, he says, when someone got a bit hurt, but despite the punishments, I know they're actually quite proud of my ingenuity.
Of course they are. Of course they are. Once everyone's okay,
get in there,
parents are proud.
You little scamp.
Once we've demonstrated that your explosion didn't burn down the neighbourhood.
Only one finger.
It's all good.
You got 9.5 more. Don't worry about it. And your sister didn't need them anyway.
God, I remember. This is a dumb explosion that we did. It was
as
dumb.
Opposed to the intelligent ones.
No, this was fairly ill thought through. All we were doing was pouring a whole bunch of petrol out on the highway and setting it on fire. But
so what?
But this was nighttime, and so
cool.
and your eyes have adjusted to nighttime darkness.
Yeah.
And so we lit this thing up, and I thought, that's it. The whole town has burnt down. Like the whole town. Let's run away. We must.
Yeah, of course.
I'm going down the Mississippi. I'm gone. I'm Tom Sawyer.
Yeah. I'm on a boat made out of an old barn door with some guy. Where were we? His parents quite found. So occasionally his father was on the receiving end of his brilliant work. So one time Baz noticed his father's drill had frayed power cords, so he fixed it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. What'd you do?
He swapped the neutral and the earth wire.
Cool.
So his old man turned it on and basically went vazodge when he was standing on wet grass.
In wet grass?
Yeah, he's standing in wet grass, turns on the drill and goes,
this is where I'll try my recently fixed drill, in the wet grass.
I'm not sure if he knew it had been recently fixed either.
Still, I don't know how often I'm doing my drilling in wet grass.
Well, if it's raining, you just got to pull out the electrics. He and his brothers at one point decided to fly lighter than air balloons for our team at the school sports carnival, he says. Since helium was not available, we built a device which pressurized domestic house gas to fill the balloons. The obvious next step. Our technology was rather primitive, however, and these balloons contained quite a bit of air as well, and they did not float satisfactorily. Too much for Cofton air. His father recognised this and warned them they might be a little dangerous if they came in contact with an open flame. So his solution was to demonstrate this. So he touched a lit cigarette to one of the balloons as it floated under the back patio.
Oh, Jesus. His arm's not long enough for that.
No, he was enveloped in a ball of flame and his eyebrows were burnt off.
Look, never touching the house gas balloon with a distance of your arm. Like,
No.
You're shooting a BB gun at it, maybe, but Jesus.
What if I ignite this thing I've told you is dangerous and could be harmful? They said they weren't too worried because they'd seen him in this state, enveloped in a ball of flame, regularly, because he would be washing engine parts and gasoline and then would test.
Oh, he's used to being in a ball of flame.
Yeah.
It's fine for Dad.
Yep.
He's a ball of flame guy.
Yep.
Like most people, they ain't ball of flame guys.
Eyebrows grow back.
But Dad, he can do that.
Yeah, eyebrows grow back, just like limbs.
Like, I know you get used to, like, picking up the hot things, but who gets used to being in a ball of flame?
Yeah, leave it to me. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's just one eyebrow this time.
Just a small ball of flame.
This is like a boost for me. I only got my head. The rest of my body was left alone. So after high school, Baz says he liked maths, but he wasn't that good at it, so he didn't go to uni with it. He chose medical school as an alternative, as you do.
Okay.
You can't do maths, I'm going to become a doctor.
Yeah.
He was very interested in biological sciences and biochem, and he couldn't do that at high school, so he's stoked. So he's at UWA, Uni of Western Australia. In his 5th year of med school, he married his now and continues to be wife, psych student Adrienne.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's a beautiful romance.
That's wonderful.
He graduated.
And much older than his parents, because I assume by 5th year of med school, he must be at least
21.
21, there you go.
Much older. 1972. Fuck me, I didn't even think of that when I was writing this. Imagine being 21. He's born in 51. This is 72. He's 21 when he graduates medical school. What the hell? I turned 21.
Life was faster back then. Life was faster back then.
21 in first year I turned.
Did you really?
I took my time.
You had a few gap years there.
I've had many gap years. I feel like I'm having one now. Oh, my life's a gap year. You know how it is. So he got his Bachelor of Medicine, Surgery, etc. in 75 in the end. But he said he had no definite goals in medicine. He was interested in basically
helping the
everything.
sick.
No, you idiot.
Helping the sick.
That's too Pacific.
That's the goal of medicine.
No, it's not. It's to get wealthy and play golf.
Well, he might have those as well.
Yeah, you can do both.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was kind of undifferentiated. He was pretty excited about many aspects of clinical medicine. So clinical medicine was a thing for him, including geriatrics, oncology, and rheumatology, odd folks, cancer, and arthritis.
They're areas. I get it.
They're definitely areas. So a couple of years after that, he went to Royal Perth Hospital to get more experience with cardiology and open heart surgery. Good for him. And he was very interested in getting an academic career that combined clinical medicine and research. So he wanted a bit of both.
Cool.
Didn't want to just be a doctor or just be an egghead. So he was hanging out at the Royal Perth Hospital, which is the big bugger at the time. So 79, an auspicious year.
It was a great year.
Wouldn't you say?
Best year ever.
Yeah. For both of us. I finished at primary school.
Did you really?
Yeah. It was my last year of primary school. I'm fucking old. They had 4 kids, which is a chunk. And Adrienne, who was finishing the honours year of her psych degree when their first one was born, so she was working in between having all the babies as a counsellor with the education.
Well, starting
department.
to having, okay, yeah, then, yeah.
She moved on to be doing all kinds of bits and pieces around having multiple children. So he says his non-medical time was spent delivering children to various child landing facilities, renovating our house, and indulging in my hobbies of computers and electronics.
Right.
This is around 81.
He's an Australian man. He's doing the renos and dropping the kids off and
building a computer from scratch, like we all do. We're talking the early mid 80s, so that was a lot more possible.
Well, that's when computers were made literally of wire. Like you can buy it all at Tandy.
And and bits of wood you nail together as a case. So he was told in his medical training, as part of it, he was encouraged to do clinical research projects, a different one every year. So he was getting right into this whole thing, study of heat stroke in fun runners.
Okay.
Which I've always thought was a contradiction in terms, but that's just me.
No, I get it. I know.
I know you do, but
it's a very 70s branding. Yeah.
We're going to run for 10Ks and call it fun. Like, no, I'm not buying it.
Running's nice.
Not if you're not good at running a long way.
Yeah, I get it. And heat stroke that's not nice.
I'm built like a tank, man.
You would get the heat stroke. You go do a 10K fun run. I assume there's.
No, my knees gives out before that.
Yeah, okay, fair
Don't
enough.
worry about that. Jeez. So he was doing this stuff, and he was thinking he might have gone into sports or environmental medicine, but then he asked his boss if there was a gastroenterology project he could get into.
Oh, he's keen on the gastros.
It's very hard to tell because he's basically, I'm really into this. I'm not into anything. I really want to do that. I really like that. And you're like, oh,
hey, he's a dilettante.
Baz, what's going on, mate?
He's a dilettante.
Exactly.
So is this going to be a lesson in the end that you can achieve greatness? Because I assume Barry's going to achieve some greatness here. No,
little bit.
Yeah.
A hint of greatness.
But you don't have to be laser-like focused from the age of 18 months on your goal of achieving the landing on the moon.
The greatness.
Yeah, whatever the
greatness.
Yeah,
that's true, maybe. I mean, I still haven't worked it out, and I've got, a couple of years left.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. Just your greatness will be in...
It'll unfold. It will manifest.
It will. Don't worry, man. Don't worry.
So he asked about the project, and he was told by his boss there's this guy called Robin Warren, and he'd given him a list of patients with some weird curved bacteria in their stomach biopsies. And that
curved bacteria?
Curved, like curly almost. Little spirals. And Warren needed someone to follow up the patients and see what kind of diseases they had.
Okay.
So they've got this thing. What do they got?
Yeah.
What's associated?
That's the thing you need to do. So this was like a research project that he said, I'll join in on.
Yeah. He went to play with it. So Robin was the older bloke. He was the OG. And Baz was our plucky upstart.
Okay, cool.
So he said he was especially interested because one of the people on Warren's list was a woman he'd seen in the ward. So he'd seen her clinically, and he was curious to see what was going on. She had severe stomach pain, but no diagnosis. And in desperation, we referred her to a psychiatrist, and she was put on antidepressant meds.
Oh, what? Your stomach pain, maybe you're making it up. Is that what they're saying here?
Well, you seem unhappy, and we don't know why you've got it. So.
Unhappy because it hurts an awful lot. Is
no,
that the thing?
Because you're unhappy, it hurts an awful lot. Come on, man. Get with the program.
Ah, okay. But it's still not a,
Oh, no, definite link. Right. It was just like, fuck. Is it psychiatric?
Oh, look, okay, and I get the whole. Let's try and see if let's try any of these experts, see what we can find.
So that was basically it. They went, okay, let's check out. Let's give us some shrink stuff. The only abnormal findings they had was a little bit of redness in her stomach and the bacteria. This weird.
That wasn't the shrink finding.
Bacteria. No, the shrink didn't do that.
Yeah.
He was an amateur, endoscopy guy.
There should be. Shrink and amateur endoscopy.
Shrink and camera up the date.
Oh, no doubt. I'm sorry, listener, that we are not doing the Wholesome show right now on someone who is a shrink and update looker.
Look, that'll be my mission to find someone.
But you know. Oh, actually. All right, preview for another story I'm going to do. Yeah. There's this awesome bit where pick two of the countries that we've done other Wholesome shows on.
Bolivia and Uruguay.
No, the Soviet Union. And communist China is involved in this one. But there is a little bit of nice foreign policy where there is the collection of the stool and assessing different leaders' intelligences.
I'm throwing this one away. Do it now.
No, I don't know it. I know it exists.
Very interesting.
I know it exists. I'll come to it at some point. I know it exists.
Do you know what disgusts me most about that? I haven't done that.
I almost sent it to you saying, here.
Dude, my gift to you. Poo and intelligence. So the only abnormal finding, as he said, was a bit of redness in the stomach and these bacteria. So he began visiting. Baz would go and visit Rob Warren in the pathology department in the Perth hospital. And he said Robin used to drink strong black coffee and smoke cigarillos. So mini cigars like Clint Eastwood style.
Who does that?
I know.
Who does that?
I'm just doing some pathology work.
No, I don't do cigarettes. I do cigarillos. Like that. Do they even exist anymore?
If you're going to bother. I really wish I wasn't scared of smoking because I'd love to smoke some weird fucking durries. It'd be awesome.
Weird, Durry.
It'll be great. You're like, people come to see you in your office, you go, I'm going to open a window and turn a fan on. I don't give a shit what you think.
Oh, no, look, I get it. And look, academics smoking a pipe, like, that'd be great fun. Like,
come on.
Like,
come on.
I put my beret back on and my turtleneck and smoke a pipe. Anytime I'm lecturing, I'll be like, excuse me, tap, tap, tap. Oh, I just have a pipe.
I hope you don't mind if I... I mean, the only part of that ensemble I have is the tweed jacket with the elbow patches. And it's a really good one. So I need a pipe next. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Just get the pipe. Just go it.
I'm sure the uni won't mind.
See, if there's no tobacco, you say this is my crutch. You know, I have a condition.
I don't have a support animal. I have a support pipe.
And this is, I am not smoking. I am just, it keeps
bubble
me calm.
pipe. So he was an eccentric chappie, and as Baz confesses, I used to indulge occasionally myself.
In what?
During our meetings.
In cigarillos.
Cigarillo. While they were looking at slides of curved bacteria. It's the obvious pairing. When you think about it, like a good wine and cheese, a good cigarillo, and a slide of curved bacteria.
No doubt.
So he said in the very first meeting he started showing him these bacteria, and he explained the histopathology of gastric mucosa.
That's some big words there. Slow down.
The weird poop in the stomach goo.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He said,
that's great explaining there.
I'm a professional.
You should get a Nobel Prize in Science Communication for that you just did.
I'm going to be the first. All right. Only nominee. For a fake award. And so Baz says, look, this is an interesting thing to study because previously undescribed bacteria living in the stomach, an acid-filled stomach, the received wisdom for many was there's no way the bacteria could live if the stomach was overly acidic anyway.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of like, this is a bit cool. So these things which we didn't really know about, undescribed bacteria, acid-filled stomach.
Okay.
How curious. So Baz was interested. He also thought he might have had a bit of an advantage to Warren and his colleagues because he hadn't been like indoctrinated man into the way of thinking of gastroenterology.
Oh no, he's a new guy. He doesn't have
he's a new guy.
Yeah,
he's a thinker. He's random.
I'm not wedded.
What he does.
I'm not wedded to no theories here.
He's a brainstormer. Run up the flagpole, see if the cat licks it up.
Exactly.
Play it with a straight bat.
That's how
runs
you
in the
achieve greatness.
car park. Fight behind the sheds after school.
Come up with dumb ideas.
Yep.
Lots of dumb ideas. Yep. One of them will still be dumb.
Well, there are no dumb ideas. There are only dumb people, and I think you know that.
There's both.
Oh, that's a fair call. So he said, people used to tell him, I have a lateral thinking, a broad approach to problems.
Okay.
But this was often seen as negative because his school grades would suffer because he was always mucking around with, quote, irrelevant side issues.
Yeah.
However,
what's 10 plus 10? Or,
Blue, man, blue. Look at this oil. I can put it in a car. Exactly. So he didn't have a formal background in gastroenterology, so his ideas were founded in general medical science, not the ideas of the man of gastroenterology. So Baz had also seen work on similar kinds of bacteria. So this is the thing we're looking at is called H. pylori, Heliobacter pylori. So at the time in 1981, they reckon
that's the bacteria.
That's the little spiral bacteria. And they reckon in 81, probably some 80% of people in most countries had that in their system somehow.
Okay.
So it's pretty common. And earlier in the century, apparently pretty much the whole planet had it in them.
So how do we get people that didn't have it? Like, what's going on? Are there people that are immune to it?
Modern shit.
All right, cool.
That's cool.
It's not the topic, but I just wanted to know.
Oh, no, it's on the topic. Because he says, like, in Perth, because it was a modern Western society, etc., it was already on the decline, so only maybe 30 to 50% had it.
Oh, really?
And the beauty of that meant they had kind of automatic or, convenient control versus experimental groups sitting there waiting for them. So he pored over the literature for the next 6 months, started checking stuff out about it, and he said these spiral gastric bacteria had been reported on repeatedly, but then passed over. So people went, oh, and there's that. Anyway, next. They didn't do anything with it.
They just said it's there.
That shit's there. It's like, humans have skin. We'll mate, and off we go.
All right, fair enough.
So he became really excited, he says, about the spiral bacteria. And he started to get confident in their methods, and he thought they could safely carry out a study on maybe 100 or so patients. So you've got a control group and an experimental group, or at least a group in which the condition
What are we
was
talking
present.
here, experiment? You see these...
Not clear, but,
we could.
Science.
Theoretically, we've got the people that we could.
We could science this. Yeah, let's science at this. So he was able to keep the work going. He was fitting it around his other clinical duties. And his wife was really keen too because she thought it was excellent. She loved her man. And because of her psych background, they would discuss research designs, etc. together.
Cool.
As most people do with their spouses.
That's what all sensible people married to psych researchers do. So,
or people with PhDs.
Yeah, there you go. That's what you do.
You go home and go, you don't have a PhD? What the fuck are you doing in my house?
You watch WandaVision together and then you discuss research protocols.
Designs, yeah. With only in the abstract though, never even anything grounded. God, it's fascinating stuff. So he says, she was into it. Over the years, he says they took a lot of chances. He'd take jobs with inadequate pay and stuff so that he could keep tinkering and finding stuff out. He was
what is the over the years here? How long is he working on this?
It's a few years. It's not like it's decades, but he's 5 years here, 6 years there. So
okay, all right.
Periodically, this story.
But I got to keep my gut bacteria working. So he's like taking different jobs, but he's always saying, "But I got to keep some sort of line in gut bacteria."
Something going on here. I've got an angle, and he said his wife was always fully supportive. She would occasionally urge caution or veto some of his excesses, and then he knew if she did that, it was time to reevaluate, because if she said no, then maybe there's something going on.
You're getting wild here with gut bacteria?
Yeah, seriously, mate, you've gone too far. And apparently she ended up going, for years she became his basically unofficial editor. She would edit his papers. She had a liberal arts degree, hearing she was a much better writer, etc. So he says, over 25 years, including a speech he gave later in his career, she was pivotal.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
See, who says women can't help in science? All they got to do is support. So
I'm just without flagging what happens to him in terms of his greatness. She shared the award.
No.
Oh, cool.
She didn't do the research.
Cool. All right, no, that's fine. No,
you idiot.
He said she was pivotal.
I said she was pivotal, not in the research, in his life.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God, you're so worried. No, there was no controversy over her.
No, that's cool.
Doing the research.
I'm not.
It's a fair question.
Double checking. That's all.
So he said he kept up with his computing and electronics hobbying, and this meant by the end of 81, he'd completely built his own home computer, and it meant that he was.
How many years was he working on this?
I don't know quite well. I don't know. When did computers start? 1823.
Something like that.
So he took a Babbage difference potential.
Yeah, he made it. I've made a difference engine.
And he's gone, okay, let's add electricity.
The ankathometra. What's it called?
Oh yeah, the Archaeopteryx.
Yeah, it's not the Archaeopteryx, but yeah, it might be. Yeah, that one.
I know, the Kyathra differential engine that they found at the bottom of the ocean in a boat.
Which is a great discovery. But anyway.
Isn't it? Let's do that now. So he said, look, because of that, he was always on the leading edge of tech and comms. So he was getting sort of almost like internet. He was getting stuff.
Yeah, cool. He's on the bulletin boards.
He was on the bulletin boards.
He's getting the wild and wacky shit of the bulletin boards in the 80s. Yeah.
And his claim is by 81, he could function better as a single unfunded scientist than many units with multiple support staff.
Oh, okay.
That's the claim.
Look at how efficient I am.
So he started to see sort of things about the Heliobacter, and he presented his preliminary findings about it at the end of 82 to the local College of Physicians. So he's making connections between Heliobacter and matters, stomach troubles, etc. And it received, quote, a mixed response.
Oh, okay.
Then he finished his training at Royal Perth.
What was the mixed response? You're not going to tell me what it is?
No, he just said.
Some people said meh. Some people said, yeah, that's cool.
Good on you, champ.
No, and mixed response I get is
it's a euphemism for meh.
No one cares. Yep. No one cares. And someone says, that's really interesting. And they don't mean that's interesting. They're just saying, I heard your talk and I want to be nice.
Yeah, if I call it interesting, will you bugger off?
Yeah, that's all. That's all. Yeah, fair enough.
That would be, I think, a very reasonable interpretation.
I didn't really listen to you, but you are a human.
You definitely spoke, and I acknowledge your word-mouth noises. So, yeah, that didn't go so well. His job at Royal Perth ended, but he was lucky that a couple of folk at the Fremantle Hospital said, listen, we'll get you a position there and we'll fund you. And the upside of this was it was the third and smallest of the teaching hospitals in Perth. And they had, as he put it, a tradition of openness and experimentation.
Oh,
yeah, they did.
Nice.
Yeah, they did. So he spent a couple of years there with enthusiastic people. The only bummer was he couldn't keep collaborating formally with Rob Warren. So he started to...
Why not?
Because he didn't work there and he didn't have an appointment.
They've got like computers. They can talk to each other.
But he's not allowed. That's crossing the streams, man. Don't collaborate
is there some big fight between the Perth hospitals?
No, I don't think so. It's just more like one doesn't do that.
Okay.
I don't know why. But so he had a different pathologist, a guy called Ross Glancy, and apparently they started to see these bacteria were appearing in other parts of the city, and the majority of people with peptic ulcers had them. So they're going...
Majority?
The majority of people. That's the word. Majority. He was still not funded, so the hospital was just picking up the cost of the work. So finally we get to the world of the experiment. So he was very keen to present his data, and he announced the cause of ulcers. He wanted to say, it's time to tell you, we know the cause of ulcers. We know what it is.
And?
It's these bacteria. So they submitted a paper in 1983 to the Australian Gastroenterological Meeting.
Indeed.
Put the paper in, we know what it is, here it is, and it was rejected.
Serious?
So they said, naff off.
Don't you want to be the people that rejected the Beatles though?
Yes.
No, and then you're like afterwards, you're like, you know what? I still would reject them because they're not fucking cool.
Yeah, I got
like,
standards too.
You might like them.
I'm not a bandwagon guy.
I'm above that.
I'm an innovator. I find someone who's not popular.
Never back down.
Never
back down on rejecting. If you're the person that later in your career you realize you rejected a Nobel Prize winning scientist, as spoiler alert, this might be coming.
There may be,
or you rejected the Beatles or anything. Hold on to it. Be that guy. Be that guy.
You know what happens?
Now screw them. This shit.
So you double down, and if doubling down doesn't work, you triple down.
Keep going. Keep going. Revel in it.
Actually, to be fair, I think from doubling down to go straight to quadrupling, and then
I would have said that, but
eight tupling.
Yeah, no, there is
16s.
Obviously.
Yeah,
obviously, it's a powers of two thing.
Fuck yeah, it is. Just like no, I'm not going to get into it. So 1984. This is 1983. They said sod off. In 1984, Baz says it was a difficult year. So he was becoming more frustrated because he was successfully treating stomach ulcer patients with antibiotics.
Okay, so he
was treating people.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
And they're still saying no, but it's not happening.
Yeah. So this is the split between his clinical work and his
that's cool though as well, that obviously the story is what he is finding out here is the cause, but he is using that cause knowledge to get treatment. So it's not just I reckon here's the cause and someone else can work out the treatment. No. He's doing treatment right there.
It was, kind of almost the reverse. He's like, look, this has got to be it. So he'd treat them with antibiotics, but he couldn't convince other doctors to use the approach without solid experimental evidence. Treating people is not experimental evidence. It's just like, I feel better now. Oh, that's not good enough for me. Where's he quadruple blind stabbed in the face extra study? And as he put it later in his career, in the 1970s and 80s, there was a bit of a mindset that all the important stuff in medicine had already been discovered.
You got to be kidding me.
No.
I love it. I love you. You've got to love it when you say, I think everything good has been invented.
Yep.
I think from now on,
physics is over.
From now on, we're done. We're done. Like, but you know, if you've not been famous for any sort of quote in your career,
which we can't relate to because we both have.
No, obviously.
Others,
I have many famous quotes.
For others.
Many famous quotes.
I know.
But if you don't, now might be the time to just go out there on a limb and just say, I think physics is done.
Yep.
Like I think medicine, I think history. I think history is done.
Over.
We have achieved all history. And now...
What do we have now?
Now on,
a great beige. the eternal period
because
of...
Because you'll be quoted from then on as the dingus that said that...
But we know that. The papers that get most citations are either really good or absolute garbage.
Obviously, here we go. Podcasting has attained perfection. From here on, it's a slide.
And when he means here, he means this show.
Oh, literally. Yeah. This moment. Sorry, no, it's not true, listener. It's not true. No, I'm a Quest listener. We're always going to get better, stronger. Together.
I think they know that about you.
Together. We're on a quest.
Us. So this is this attitude as far as he was concerned. But he was up against a generic weight of tradition about ulcers in general. So in the late 19th, early 20th century, ulcers weren't really respectable diseases to study or to
wait. Respectable diseases?
No. The reason you got that is because you're under a lot of stress. Basically, you're weak.
So you don't study it, or doctors don't look at it, or
or they don't take it seriously. They basically, in 19th century Europe and America, they'd send you off to health spas, bathe yourself in gunpowder and drink a litre of petrol, and, all that sort of stuff. By the 1880s, they developed stomach surgery for ulcers, where they'd cut off the bottom part of the stomach and reconnect the intestines.
And this
1880s surgery.
Yes. So if someone proposing this to me now, I'd be like, okay, I get that you've got the technology to do this in a way that won't kill me, probably. But 1880s, like I'm thinking you die. You die if they cut off half of your stomach in the 1880s.
No, but you're going to be okay. Bite down on this live duck and eat a kilo of gunpowder and you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
So what we're going to do is we'll get the gunpowder down there and we're going to explode off that bit of your stomach. So we'll put a little rubber band around
But it's going to be a shaped and controlled explosion. Keep your eyes on the duck. It'll calm you down. Look how calm that duck is. Bang!
God, you've got to be in a lot of pain in the 1880s to go, okay, cool. Cut me open.
Nope. Nope. So as they say, at the beginning of the 20th century, they're pretty confident 100% of people had Helicobacter pylori, H. pylori. But what they're not clear about, and they're still not clear it seems, is how it infects people, the way it gets in there, and why some people react badly and others don't.
Do you want me to speculate, or is this...
no, I just don't know.
I don't know.
So speculate away.
It's rubbing your bums against each other.
It is butt kissing.
Yeah, that's it.
In fact, date kissing.
I assume. I mean, because I know...
Makes this noise.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it happens. Like,
Yep.
We only discovered that in 1930.
Kids never go date to date.
Well, no, just double check first.
Wash.
Like if you're both clean,
Take the test.
it's fine. Or you can have protection, but
What kind?
it's double layer of glad wrap. Like
Fuck, that's romantic. I'm ready. So they weren't really sure. And ulcers, basically, the worst case for ulcers is pretty bad. Like you can die.
I 100% believe it, and I imagine it is a really horrific thing.
Look, it sounds dreadful. And so as they started to get, X-ray machines in the early days, which are only available in big cities, they could start to kind of see things going on, but it was always associated with businessmen, cigars and cigarettes, high-pressure lifestyles.
Yeah. So, okay.
Worry, curry, and hurry was the...
Yeah. No, I want to ask a question. I want to question you. If we come to this result, is it purely the bacteria, or are there other factors that assist the bacteria to make it worse?
The way I would answer it is if you get rid of the bacteria, they seem to go away, but I don't know if there are mitigating factors in getting it and making it worse.
Yeah.
I've just ruined the episode notes. Fine. They also said before we get to back to this point with Baz, scientists for a while would induce ulcers in rats by putting them in straitjackets and dropping them in ice water. And the way they protected rats from the stress-based ulcers was to give them antacids.
Hang on. Slow. How
everything you just heard.
How did that give them ulcers? And also, what is a rat straitjacket like?
It's very small.
Oh my God! This poor little. Is it just its front paws or its back paws too?
I did not look for a photo. I think I should have though.
What the hell is wrong with your brain? You didn't look for a photo of the rat straitjacket.
It's adorable. You get your mum to make them.
I feel like there's a metal song in here. Like there's got to be
straitjacket. That's a band name.
Oh yeah, it doesn't quite work, but it's close.
You wait till you hear their songs.
I know,
It'll
right?
grow on you.
Seriously, and you drop them in ice water, and they get an ulcer. Did they get an ulcer?
Yeah, apparently they did. So they'd give them antacids, and they went away. They made the connection between ulcer stress and acid though without proper experimentation. So maybe that worked, or maybe it didn't. It wasn't quite clear. I think they just got obsessed. Wait, I got an idea. I got an idea. Rats in straitjackets. You're like, I'm in. I don't care what it's for.
Don't care.
That's adorable and insane.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't give a shit why.
Oh my God.
I know.
They're not straitjackets. They've just wrapped them in a bandage so that their legs can't move.
That'd be a straitjacket.
Yeah, that'd be a straitjacket. It's not.
If I strapped you up now with a bandage so you couldn't move your arms, I think calling it a straitjacket.
I know, but I'm kind of visualizing a full-on 1950s.
Yeah, the little buckles and everything.
You're in an insane asylum straitjacket, and I'm imagining them trying to fit these on a rat, little delicate thing.
Lethal whipping.
No, it's not. They've just tied their legs down. Yeah. Thanks, scientists. Thanks, scientists, for discovering another way to
torture living things.
With some justification, but not a hell of a lot.
Not a hell of a lot. So Baz was working against this weight of received wisdom about what an ulcer was, what caused it, what you ought to do. So he needed evidence for his new idea, which, remember, was actually treating patients, but that didn't count.
How does that not count?
It's not science. It's just medicine.
Well, yeah, okay, because there's many methods that work when,
Yeah, and it could have been, like, literally, I mean, benefit of hindsight and all that. For all they know, there could have been.
Well, look, when it comes down, placebos work to a little bit. Like, that's the point.
You got any? I could do with a placebo.
I got some placebos. I bought them off a guy.
Do you know?
There's some very good placebos.
Can I get some from you?
Yes.
I got a thing that needs correcting.
No, that's cool. I'm happy to.
Let's after the podcast.
Yeah. I think we both take the same placebos
It seems to be working. So anyway, he was thinking, I need an animal model. So he was trying to infect piglets for 6 months, but apparently piglets grow so quickly that it was hard to do. Growing up quickly apparently gets in the way.
And you can't get them into the straitjacket.
The rat ones worked for 2 weeks. So his problem was if he couldn't reproduce an ulcer by infecting an animal with it, the only thing left to him was, of course, human experimentation.
Hang on, so he couldn't reproduce it in an animal?
He couldn't, apparently. No, he had too much difficulty.
Wow, that is a big. If I'm a medical scientist, that is a big challenge. If you can't replicate the condition, give the cancer in the rat or the
cancer in the mouse or the cancer in the parrot
or the broken leg or the.
I know how to replicate that.
Yeah. All I'm saying is. We use animal models an awful lot. If your big theory says, okay, it's to do this bacteria, but I can't do it in animals. It's just us. It's just humans.
You're like,
there's a huge moment where I'm just saying, yeah, sure, absolutely, yeah. What do you got for me?
Yeah, so that was his issue. He came up against this, and he went, all right, look, the only thing I can do is humans. And he was getting really frustrated with a negative response to his work, and he went, fuck it, I'll do it on myself. And this is, of course, many people may have heard of this story, many haven't. And I'll quote him. When I decided to drink the Heliobacter culture...
So he is zero Heliobacter before?
We'll get to that.
Okay. Cool. I love this.
Yeah. And I decided to drink the Heliobacter culture. I felt a bit embarrassed.
Oh, that's so awesome. I felt and you know you would, because you're like, this is going to look so freaking dumb.
Especially if I get it wrong.
It's going to look so dumb if I'm wrong. But, you know, I'm frustrated by these guys. So look here. Oh.
I'm imagining him late at night in the lab, and he's got a petri dish full of goo.
No. I'm imagining this has to be a volume. Like this is like a 2-liter milk bottle.
Yeah, that's it. I'll take a pint, another pint. But now you can imagine him sort of in that classic sort of tacky horror movie or whatever, where he's sitting in the lab, he's going to sip it, and then someone opens the door and he's like, huh? This? Nothing. No, it's just phlegm.
I wasn't about to.
I was smelling it. I was smelling it.
Just seeing. Just a little taste. Just a little nibble.
Just curious.
Oh.
Don't tell me you haven't felt that way yourself.
No, all the time. You know, because there's always forbidden fruit. There's always things that you're not allowed to taste. How many of you listener, sitting in your lab, if you are lab people, think, I want to lick that dish. A little bit.
I want to lick the inside of that beaker because I don't know, it won't be awesome.
Oh, you don't, and there must be an instinct. Oh, ooh.
What if I just a sip, just a taste? Come on, man, just a taste.
I'm reading. Here's a segue for you. I finished it actually. Reading a book where there's this nice bit where it's covering autopsies, and the dude does the autopsy, cuts off a little bit of flesh, and then eats it to taste it. Taste it, and obviously it's meant to be shocking, but there's also a bit where you go,
fair enough.
You know, as a scientist, just a tiny bit, just to know. Okay, what's the? And it's there's a lot of senses in our nose and mouth.
Tell me the truth. Did your mouth start watering?
I had a little bit.
You did.
Yeah. I just want to know. Like this isn't like I'm not eating people for sustenance. I'm eating people for science.
You're not a monster.
Exactly. It's very different. It's very different.
You're not a freak. You're just curious.
Very, very different.
Cannibal curious.
Yeah. It's not a. It's a big jump. You know, if you so you're eating someone for sustenance because you're like trapped on a plane in Antarctica.
For love because it's just awesome.
For love because it's awesome, or for science to detect what they've got inside them. If there's one that's legitimate, it's science to detect what's inside
for what they taste like. Do you know, this may be one of the few areas where I'm going to go, look, I don't think I would. And you
really wouldn't? Oh, no, I'm down there.
I'd eat human flesh if it's cooked.
I don't have a huge problem with it.
I need it cooked.
No, see, I'm not a big... I like cooking things, but to me, meat attains perfection when it's fresh
off the bone.
Fresh off the bone.
Thigh? Which bit would you choose?
Thigh is obviously the place that you go. For all animals, thigh...
Or buttock.
Well, there's an
Backstrap.
interesting discussion on how much animals do chewing versus walking. And some animals are chewing animals, some animals are sprinting animals, and some animals are walking animals.
So sprinting animals don't chew?
Like if you chew, the muscle is really strong. If you're a slow walker, then or if you're a fast walker, then it's a sprinting muscle. So you get like high red blood sort of stuff. So they have different textures. And
humans?
In fairness,
you want to eat an athlete. That's what I'm hearing. You want to eat an athlete.
Probably the thigh and the jaw would give you a nice indication of what that person was like as a human.
You're not freaking me out at all right now. Not at all.
If you want to know, that's all. That would tell you their life story, their jaw and their thigh.
For the horrified listener sitting in their car right now, I thought I knew Will. And now I feel I do, but I don't know if I'm comfortable with it.
And here's the thing.
Oh, it goes better.
Would you want to eat someone you don't know?
Yes.
Or it would be better to add to the life story by just having a taste of someone that you didn't know? See,
why have you got a knife? Out of curiosity. You said it was cutlery. You said it was to have olives later. I'm not convinced. So Baz drank the dish of juice and he was embarrassed and he really didn't discuss it with his bosses in case they said, no, you won't.
Of course, they will say, no, you won't.
Yeah.
Like, that's what bosses do.
But he goes on to say, I suspect they knew.
In fairness.
He reckons they knew anyway.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This is the free and easy place. This is the third biggest hospital in Perth.
Still,
with the loose and sleazy research culture.
Interesting. So
that's
he is deliberately taking on something that he knows is going to make him sick. for research, which is a really interesting question. Suspecting that they know, I reckon that's him rewriting history there.
Well, it's just like his parents grudgingly respected him for blowing up the neighbour's cat. I mean, like, you know, he never admitted to that. So he said he had an endoscopy beforehand to check that his stomach was normal and to establish a baseline. So you're asking about what he had already.
Or you just have an endoscopy because you want.
Yeah, they are fun.
Like if you're in a hospital, you work in a hospital, you just order one every so often. You just
Can you check out my guts?
Just I need to know.
And apparently his boss at the time said, Barry, I'm not sure you asked me to do this endoscopy and I don't want you to tell me. Don't ask, don't tell.
In an endoscopy. There is no policy ever that is don't ask, don't tell about endoscopy.
To be fair though, the endoscope tends to be down the front end, not the back end.
No, I get it still.
It makes it less weird.
But still.
So Baz went on to say, I did not expect to develop any symptoms, but I did become ill with vomiting and bad breath.
Okay.
Very quickly. A further endoscopy revealed the infection, proving that a healthy person could be infected by Heliobacter. So that's one thing.
Okay.
Sorry, Helico, whatever.
We can get it if you drink it a lot.
Yep. We don't know if it's a lot. It was a petri dish.
I'm going with the 2 litre milk bottle, but anyway.
Same thing.
Anyway, some volume. So no, I don't think you get even a publication for saying if you drink some bacteria, you then have the bacteria. Like I don't think you have to be no science for that.
Not present, but actually infected. So I assume reproducing.
What is the difference?
I assume if you drank it and it didn't infect
you said it before I got
die.
the words out. I get
it. It would die. It would die.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
So, of course, he said there's plenty of things that can go wrong in a single self-experiment, so it's doubtful such a study would get published these days, and back then it was a bit of a stretch. Even back then, a bit of a stretch. So he goes on to say a bit later, much has been written about the episode, him drinking the goo, and I certainly had no idea it would become as important as it has, which surprises me. I didn't actually expect to become as ill as I did.
Oh, okay.
He got fucking sick. He didn't discuss
How
it with,
bad?
Like, well, yeah, we'll get to that. His wife commented. He was very unwell. He said he didn't discuss it with ethics, obviously, at the hospital, the ethics committee.
Because they would have said no.
100 million billion
But this is such an interesting question of, and maybe we can wrap up on this. I don't know it later, but can you consent for yourself?
Or can you not? Maybe it's impossible not to consent. I don't know. That's very. That's true.
Oh, you are permanently consenting to yourself. No matter what you do, you have consented.
Because you're one person, not two.
You're you.
I consent, therefore I am.
Oh my God. That is the modern condition.
Yeah.
I consent, therefore I am.
Yeah.
Seriously, you have merged Descartes and Dave Graeber. Oh my God.
I know. Dave Cart. So more significantly, he says, I didn't discuss it in detail with Adrienne, my wife.
Yeah, that's the ethics committee that is probably the more important one.
In detail. I think what that means is I didn't tell her at all.
No, that's at all. That's an at all. Because what element of telling her a little bit, I'm going to drink something tonight, that is not enough. Like that is not telling the substance of the thing. I'm going to...
Sweetheart, I'm going to infect myself with...
just a nibble.
Just the tip.
Look, there is no telling that doesn't involve the key thing here.
No, it doesn't. And he said, look, she was already convinced about the risk of these bacteria, so I knew she would never say, yep. So it's one of these occasions, he said, where it'd be easier to ask forgiveness than permission.
100%.
As we all know about this. So I was taken by surprise of the severity of the infection. When I came home with my biopsy results showing colonization of the gut and classic damage to the stomach, Adrian suggested it was time to treat myself.
Yeah.
I had a successful infection. I'd proved my point. So he took antibiotics and it went away.
Oh, he didn't wait to get an ulcer?
I think he basically had one. I don't know how quickly he took them, but he took them, I believe, fairly swiftly.
Okay, I'm hoping he got some hairy fucking gross things. Like, that's what I want. I want some ulcer story here.
He's made of hairy gross things. Oh. So there was interest and support from a few, but most of his work was rejected for publication.
Wow.
And even the papers that were accepted were apparently significantly delayed. He met with constant criticism that his conclusions were premature and not well supported. His results were disputed and disbelieved, not on the basis of science, as he puts it, but because they simply couldn't be true. That's not how ulcers work.
That's so awesome.
That's not how ulcers work.
Oh, we know this.
You idiot.
We know this can't be true.
No,
can't be true.
Because we know it's not true.
What you have shown cannot be true. Wow.
He goes on to say, it was often said that no one was able to replicate my results, but this was untrue and it became part of the folklore of the period.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. He was told that the bacteria were either contaminants or they were just harmless organisms, commensals as it's called, that already existed.
Yeah, okay.
Whatever. But at the same time, he says, I was successfully experimentally treating patients who had suffered with life-threatening ulcer diseases for years.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So this is the quandary between medical practice and research. He was like, well, but I know people get better when I treat it this way. And they said, we don't give a shit.
That is fascinating. That is such a weird thing.
Yeah. It's really messed up. So he said some of his patients had postponed surgery, the aforementioned from way back, but still going on, cutting off the bottom of the gut. Yep. Partial gutectomy, please. Don't be a catastrophist. Sure. Yeah. It became unnecessary after a 2-week course of antibiotics and bismuth, particular goo.
Oh, I was thinking of the bismuth. Yep. Yeah, I would have given them that too.
So when you combine the two, apparently after 2 weeks, we are not going to need the surgery. I'd call that pretty good. So his hypothesis was the bacteria were the cause of peptic ulcers, particularly bad ones, and a significant risk for stomach cancer as well, interrelated.
Oh.
As he put it, if I was right, then the treatment for ulcer disease would be revolutionised. It would be simple, cheap, and there would be a cure. So he said, from his point of view, for the sake of patients, the research should be fast-tracked. That's why he did what he did.
No doubt.
Yeah. And he claims, he thinks at least part of his sense of urgency and frustration was with the medical community was because of, his age and his disposition. So he was a youngster.
I get it. But also I can imagine getting angry at this point, going, hang on.
Fuck yeah, of course you would.
I've got some actual results here and you're saying, no, it can't be true.
Why would you not even try?
Oh, yeah, okay.
So he said basically the primary reason was a practical one. He was driven to get his theory proven quickly to provide cures for millions of people who suffer from the shit around the world. Oh, millions.
Yeah, no, I don't doubt it.
So the opposition started early though. So
and debilitating, obviously.
Oh, thoroughly. If you get it badly, and I didn't include this in the episode, but there are stories of people found dead in their apartments from particularly bad versions of ulcers. Yeah, because it perforates or bursts and then stuff goes into the rest of the body.
Stop it.
A famous person in the UK, though, in their 40s and they were found dead.
No.
Yeah. I can't
You mean their
remember.
80s?
Yeah, 40s, exactly.
80s?
Exactly.
80s?
Age 40s. This is obviously it's an extreme case.
Obviously they deserved it because they had a bad life.
Oh, shit celebrity. They're a celebrity for being a shit.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Oh, my God.
It's dreadful.
Oh, yeah, that's so rotten.
So the implications of this, you can imagine, he was extremely frustrated and upset because it's freaking tough. So Rob Warren, his buddy, said way back in 1979, when he started to see bacteria in the stomach biopsies, he started to talk to people about it. And he said he met skepticism from his colleagues who mostly did not want to know or believe what I was describing. Anyone could see a bacteria through a microscope, but the clinicians did not want to see it.
Why did they not want to? I'm still baffled
crazy,
by this.
Yeah.
We didn't really know, but we had enough of an answer, so we don't want to know.
Can't be that so screwy.
That is so weird.
This is a real indictment of some aspects of the scientific sibling.
And also the 1980s.
Exactly.
Like
all 70s in this case.
I thought you said 1980s.
But he was saying, Rob Warren, it started even in early as the late 70s.
No, all right, all of your decades can be condemned.
All decades fucked up.
Yeah, except for the 90s.
So good.
Attained perfection.
Kurt Cobain, man.
Different era.
Did I tell you I met him? So he's saying, why Rob Warren was saying, why was I the only one seeing the bacteria? Why had no one else described them? And he didn't know. And Warren said, in answer to the skeptics, look, once I started looking for them, they were obvious, but convincing other people was another matter. So doctors would look down the microscope and see things, but they would say, no, these just happen to be there anyway.
Oh, don't how many different bacteria live in our gut? It's
11.
I think it's even more than 11.
15,
like
15.
Even more than that. Like I'm not no numbers guy, but I think it's a lot. And so I can imagine in this day and age, they're looking down with their microscopes at what's in the gut, and they're seeing a lot of things.
A lot of critters.
And they go there's critters here, and maybe they do stuff, but it's probably the stress.
Yeah, or it's just like those are there, but heaps of others are there too. So
yeah, why care about that one?
Yeah, they're already there. So he said it was hard to prove them wrong. Also, there was opposition from doctors with vested interests in treating ulcers in the existing ways.
Big surgery.
And big drug, of course. Big surgery and big drug.
What was the drug? Were they on drugs?
There's one called Tagamet.
Oh, yeah, Tagamet. Yeah, big Tagamet.
Yeah, blocking gastric acids and stuff, $1 billion annual sales, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah,
shit tons of money. So they had an opposition, they had inertia from the drug industry that was not happy about it either. So anyway, 1984. By the end of 1984, he started to get funding. Baz started to get money. So he could do a proper double-blind prospective thing to see if antibiotics could.
Some of you will cut your stomach out. Some of you will give
just do nothing. Eat Tim Tams.
Eat Tim Tams, and some of you will antibiotics.
Yeah, take antibiotics.
Okay,
so he finally got money for that at the end of '84. He wasn't officially collaborating with Rob Warren at the time when he started doing this in Fremantle. But he used to meet and hang out with him when they were writing papers for The Lancet, or Gust medical journal. He said he used to have dinners with the Rob Warren, Baz and their wives would have dinners and hang out. And he said there was one a few weeks after his self-experimentation. He was enthusiastic about the results and the severity of his illness. I'm very enthusiastic about how fucking awful I felt. It was also the first confirmation of an infection with documented results, and he wanted to share the news. And Rob was very excited. Apparently then, early the next morning, Rob Warren got a call from a journalist in the USA. I don't know how or why. 5 a.m. So apparently he didn't, the journalist, they say, the journalist got their timing off between Australia and America, but I think they didn't give a shit.
No, of course they don't give a shit.
And
I'm guessing what this is, they don't give a shit.
Yeah, like we don't care. You're like, fuck, whatever. So he was asked to use the questions, and one of the questions was, how do you know it's a pathogen that's causing this, not some harmless commensal, another thing that just happens to be hanging out? Apparently Rob said the results of his still unreleased research, this is Baz's work, this is Rob's response. I know because Barry Marshall just infected himself and damn near died.
That's awesome.
And so Barry says, look, it's a slight exaggeration, but it made for good copy. What Rob didn't realise was he was talking to a journalist from the newspaper The Star, tabloid, which would at the time would feature stories about alien babies being adopted by Nancy Reagan.
Oh, really?
Yeah. and stories like this. So complete whack job newspaper. The next day the story came out. Guinea pig doctor discovers new cure for ulcers and the cause, which is not actually too...
It sounds good, but it's not in the right place.
It is really not in the right place.
And that makes a difference. I hate to say.
Yeah. So according to Baz, this became a life-changing moment. So things started
when he was the guinea pig.
Yep, and when it got into the tabloids and then kept going. So he started to get contacted by, as he put it, a continuous line of patients in the USA who read the story and were desperate for treatment.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, that's awesome.
So they saw it and went, fuck it, like, help me. So he was treating patients by proxy in the USA as early as 1984.
Yeah, okay.
Telling them what to do, etc. He became an advocate for the treatment, and many people claimed he was a bit of a zealot.
Yeah, well, no doubt. No doubt.
He would have been.
I mean, that's the description of someone who truly believes in what they believe. It comes from a time when people, a lot of those people in America... zealotry is about those people that really believed in Jesus. So,
and sometimes the science.
All it is saying it's someone that really believes.
Yeah, hardcore, extreme.
Doesn't mean they're wrong.
It does not mean they're wrong. And he said, look, these years were a bit hard for the family, particularly when they were on a financial shoestring. But he said they're also rewarding. He had a continuous stream of letters from patients who'd been treated and freed from a lifetime of pain and disruption.
Oh, look, and aside from this, you can imagine any medical condition where people are really suffering, and I know that there are many conditions where people are there's all of the patient communities, all of those kind of things where they're talking to each other saying, does this work? Does that work? Does this work? If you've got some sort of long-term debilitating illness, if you find the manna from heaven that does solve it, Jesus, wow.
Well, it got better. So he goes on to say patients wanted to make a donation to him. So he set up a foundation.
Well, they're all fat cats, aren't they?
All billionaires.
Yeah, they're all smoking cigars, so they have lots of money.
1980s billionaires. And he said, so there was a story about the cure in a Sunday paper across the USA, and in the following weeks they received 30,000 letters.
Jesus.
30 freaking thousand, with donations of $1 or $2 to pay for postage and photocopying of information. And he said he had to hire a bunch of students to handle all the mail.
Jesus, wow, that's awesome.
30,000 letters. It's insane. Like that in itself blows my mind.
Yeah, and they're not even emails, so you can't just reply. It's hard when they're letters.
You hire the students.
Yeah. Sure.
And so finally in the 90s, the early 90s, the tide of acceptance began to turn. In February 94, the National Institutes of Health had a conference, a meeting in Washington, in D.C. They had a consensus meeting which ended after 2 days with a statement to the effect that the key to treatment of duodenal and gastric ulcers was detection and eradication of Helicobacter pylori.
That's awesome.
So he'd been waiting for 10 years for this day. And he said he felt a combination of relief and satisfaction
as he'd achieved. Can you imagine having a whole conference at the National Institutes of Health?
Yeah.
To confirm or not confirm what you reckon. That's in some ways, scientifically, that's bigger than a Nobel in some ways.
It's freaking insane. It's insane.
That's awesome.
So yeah, he said from that point forward, he started to get awards, recognitions. The hospital where he was still doing full patient care as well, and trying to do his research, he started to get a bit dissatisfied. So he spent a lot of time attending meetings, traveling. The pressures of the past 10 years started to show.
Yeah.
He'd been so involved in the rise of Helicobacter as a thing. He hadn't been able to update his training in new areas of
Hadn't
research.
built a new computer in years.
Seriously,
he's still working on his 1981 computer.
The Apple One, Apple 0.05.
With the wood background. So
God, I wish computers were still made out of wood. I'd love a wooden laptop. Teak. I want teak or mahogany. But he said basically he didn't have time to update his training. It was all about Helicobacter.
Yeah.
And finally, he said, in typical fashion, his wife, Adrian, took over the decision-making at the end of 94, and he took leave from the uni. He cashed in his superannuation.
How old is he?
60s. No, he would have been from 51, he was born, so he's only early 40s.
44.
A young chap like yourself.
He took his Supra. Yeah. No, that's like 10 years away from me, but yeah, sure.
Like yourself, not exactly the same, obviously. Same as me, 38. So they spent a year living off his super to try and figure out what would go next. And then he built a company called TriMed and Diagnostic Techniques for finding these bugs. And I've had one of those. So you take a pill that's slightly radioactive and then you wait 10 minutes and you blow into this weird medical silver balloon. I'm serious. And I think it's the extent to which the radioactive particles break down reacts to whether there's Helicobacter or not.
Whoa.
And so they literally wrap up the balloon, which they seal off in a big box that keeps it inflated and send it off to a lab.
And they don't ask for your pill as well?
No, I wish they did.
like just as
I took some along in case.
I know.
I'm not an idiot.
I know. I know.
Help. But no, you literally blow in this thing. You take the pill, you wait for it to kind of react, then you blow in the balloon, and they check out to see if you've got it. I didn't have it. But I'll get a test for it.
That's amazing.
I get a headache now. I've got stomach cancer. Check me out. So basically, he says the two diagnostic tests he devised, CLO test and PI test, he's very proud of them. They're less glamorous than high-impact papers, but they're reliable, cheap, and available diagnostics that are at least as important in medicine as any other treatment. They don't get a lot of recognition. So he went back to Perth in 96. He'd been travelling around. He was awarded a bunch of scholarships, blah, 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 blah. Finally, of course, he got the Nobel Prize with Rob Warren in 2005. Nobel Prize in Medicine, etc. He was stoked that he was back in Australia so he could share and celebrate with the people who'd been instrumental. He acknowledges, and he does this repeatedly through his bio, which I didn't mention, he lists the names of people he collaborated with or did kind of distant research.
And then Gary. I blew up some shit with Gary when I was in the 50s.
Gary in Italy. Gary in Japan. Gary in America. There are so many Garys and Garettes. So it was really, he's very, magnanimous about it, as you can be once you got Nobel.
Oh, what else is there to do?
Just magnanimity.
Spread it around, because you can't actually spread it around.
You get money.
No, you can.
You can spread the money,
but you can't actually, because you don't decide. You can't actually spread it around.
No,
you can say, I would give it to all of you, you and you and you and you.
But they won't.
You and you and you.
But they won't let me.
And you and you and you and you.
Yeah.
But it's not my fault. They can't.
No. I love you, but they don't.
Yeah, exactly. It's not my
freaking Swedes hate your guts.
Yeah.
So and he's happy. He still lives in Western Australia. He's pleased. He still has appointments in the University of Western Australia. He's got a vaccine company, etc. And so I'll close off with this. So what I really like is there was a Q&A with him in Nature in 2014. And just a couple of questions. One of them was the interviewer says, I understand that you're developing an edible vaccine made from H. pylori. Edible vaccine. And he said, yes, it's been harder than we thought. The idea is that you engineer H. pylori strains that is deficient in some way and cannot give you permanent colonization. So
you
engineer it so it'll go in there and then die. And then you clone, I love the way he puts, so you just clone some extra DNA into it, right? And then it could produce a useful, exactly, just science. And it produces a useful peptide analogous to, for example, an influenza vaccine antigen. So he's talking about one day you'd go to the supermarket and you kind of just get an oral vaccine, just like a food product or whatever, rather than needing needles and stuff.
You won't. No.
Someday. You don't know what the future holds.
Not in the supermarket.
Why not?
Regulation is good.
Why not? And what advice do you have for young scientists, Beryl?
Yeah. What's he got?
First, do what you like to do.
Oh, good. I like that. Do what you like to do.
Do what you like.
Skateboard tricks.
Smoke bongs and play Xbox.
Yeah, exactly. And
that's how you become a good scientist.
Yes, and
because turning up every day for a job you do that you don't enjoy feels like a death sentence. I agree with that. I've had jobs where I screamed myself to work. It wasn't a death sentence, but I wasn't happy. Because you can quit a job. You can't quit being executed. They don't let you.
I'm not sure we're going here with that.
Second.
Okay, good.
Do not be afraid to sacrifice salary to do something that you are interested in. And for those of you who go, yeah, but you don't have kids and shit, 4 children. 4 children. So he did.
And seriously, children can live on nothing. Like, if you need...
They're tiny.
You can fill them like ground-up cardboard or something.
And they've got nothing to compare it to.
And you say, this is Weet-Bix, and they'll be like, yeah, this is fine. Cool.
Weet-Bix are a bit shit, but you put honey on it. Sorry, cheap sugar.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they didn't even have that. It's grass, and you call the grass honey.
White grass. So more like bat guano.
No, or dried-up dog poo. That don't exist anymore because everyone's collecting them. It's very good. Or unless you know the special routes to go, and you find the dried-up dog poo. That's the sugar.
It's called your backyard. So he said, third... keep some balance in your life. Work-life balance, people. Most of your papers are going to get rejected initially, and occasionally you're going to feel down. Occasionally. So it's good to have a partner with an objective perspective. So keep some balance, a.k.a. partner with someone who really understands everything you do and likes it. And finally, if you had to be a microbe, which one would you be and why? The obvious question.
I don't know enough microbes to know the difference.
Honestly, I've just been talking about one and I couldn't name it.
Helicobacter pylori.
Yeah, and he said that too, because I would have no competition. But ching.
Oh, whoa.
That's Baz. So anyway, that story, I know you knew the gist of it, but
what happened to the lady at the beginning?
Which lady?
The very beginning.
Oh, she died.
In New York.
I've no idea. There was no follow-up. There was no follow-up on her.
Oh, Jesus. Here's me caring.
I know.
Don't make me care. Don't make me care.
This is my goal. Not only to make people care, but then to not give them any
I want to know
closure.
if Barry saved her life.
Zero closure.
She was so sick that New Yorkers were panicking.
No, she ended up fine. She took the antibiotics and she could eat curry.
The Wholesome Show.
And now she runs Vogue magazine.
Is me, Will Grant, him, Rod Lamberts. He can't say his name at the end of podcasts. It hurts him.
It's weird and wrong.
It hurts him.
Wrong.
I don't know why. But you got to remind people. Thank you for listening, listener. We love you. Don't make life choices based on this degree. And if you have this degree, this podcast,
no, you should.
Then tell us. That's a good thing.
And tell your friends.
We'll be back next week, listener. Enjoy.